All right, it is 2025. No, it's not. It's 2026. It is time to talk about Letterboxd. A lot of people have to wait till the end of the year, sometimes the end of the month, to see like their statistics of what they were listening to, what they were reading. Letterboxd is kind of the movie version of tracking and logging everything that you've watched, movie-wise at least, some miniseries. And that's what I'm going to talk about. This is just a rundown of everything that I watched. To start out, in 2025, I logged 368 movies. That is including rewatches. That is a lot of movies. I just want to say maybe a quarter of those are shorts. It's still a lot of movies. It's still crazy to me that I ever got that high. That's literally almost 500 hours worth of watching stuff, about 30 films a month, about one a day. I did not watch a movie every day though. Most of the days that I watched a movie were on a Saturday or on a Sunday. I started off early in the year, really strong, really focused on watching a bunch of stuff. You could see a pattern where it was like maybe 2 weeks of not watching as much, and then the next 2 weeks I would watch a bit more, and it would just kind of bounce back and forth. The busiest week was early in February. I watched 19 films in 1 week. Again, I'm 100% sure those are shorts. In fact, if I click on it right now, some of them are shorts. Yes, I was right. Now, to talk about some of the highest rated films that I saw in 2025, I will just mention it again. I don't rate films on a first watch. So everything that is listed here as highest rated films, these are just films that I've rewatched. Some of these movies are Eternal Sunshine, Monty Python, The Graduate, Parasite, Anora, Memories of Murder, School of Rock, Moonlight. I got to rewatch all of those again this year, and some of them in theaters. I got to see Eternal Sunshine in a theater finally, and it was an amazing experience. Some of my friends got to see it for the first time. I took my wife. She really liked it. The first film that I watched was Anora, and the last movie I watched was Avatar: Fire and Ash. Saw it in IMAX, had a very good time. Probably my least favorite of the three. We'll probably get another one. I'll definitely go see it. I'll be hyped up. Now for the diary milestones, my 50th movie was Beautiful Men. That was an Oscar-nominated short that I saw in theaters. My 100th film was Black Bag. My 150th movie was 1 to 1. And then my 200th movie was The Watermelon Woman. 250th movie was a short made by Kogonada called The Way of Folk. It was a special feature on the Inside Llewyn Davis Criterion. My 300th movie was One Battle After Another, and my 350th is Lurker. All right, so typically my most watched tends to be my favorites of the year. So usually I blur those out because I just don't want to spoil what is possibly in my top 10. But this time I said, you know what? I'm going to rewatch a lot of movies that I'm really loving. If I watched it through the Criterion Collection, if I watched like a Blu-ray of it or a DVD, I was going to watch along with the commentary, go through the special features, watch it again, watch every single version that I could, which means that I watched Parasite and Memories of Murder 5 times this year, and I watched The Graduate and I watched Psycho 4 times this year as well. Train Dreams, Wake Up Dead Man, Sorry Baby, those at least on here are the 2025 movies that popped up on here twice. The other one that I watched twice was The Princess Bride. Early in 2025, I showed my wife that movie, I think on Christmas Eve. Watched it with my family. We were talking about Rob Reiner, so we said, let's just watch that when we were trying to pick a movie to watch. Now, I tend to have a pattern based on what I watch. Usually the top genre is a drama, and then the top country is USA, and the top language is English. I don't think there's really any way I can get around that. So I was a bit more focused to see if I can switch at least like the second and the third ones for each of those. So in 2025, I watched a lot of dramas. In fact, I watched 149 dramas. The next one is comedy. I watched 113 comedies, but my highest rated was crime. It has an average of 4.43. I'm just kind of curious what's there, mainly because I watched Memories of Murder so many times, and then One Battle After Another is included with that as well, and The Naked Gun is also included in that. My most watched country was USA. I watched 232 films that were produced, filmed in or by the United States. And then the next one is UK. I watched 50 of those. But my highest rated country is South Korea. So the average is 4.5, mainly just because I watched Parasite and Memories of Murder so many times, but that's also including Snowpiercer and Okja. I think you can get an idea of the South Korean films that I watch. And then for language, obviously English is the top. I watched 267 films that were in English, but usually the second language is Japanese. This time I watched 34 silent films. A lot of those were in my watch list and I was just going through them. And then for the highest rated, there's only two, and that's Korean and English. Korean has the average of 4.6. And again, I'm gonna assume it's just similar because of Parasite, Memories of Murder. That's literally it. Those are the only two films listed here. Next are themes and nanogenres. So in 2025, I watched 31 films that were about moving relationship stories. My highest rated theme was touching and sentimental family stories. Some of those films are I'm Still Here, Marcel the Shell, Eternal Sunshine, How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies, Columbus, Edward Scissorhands, J. Kelly. Now for nanogenres, I watched 14 films that were thrills, killer, and mystery. Every single one of these, except for one, is an Alfred Hitchcock movie. The only one that is not an Alfred Hitchcock movie is Disturbia, which is a remake of Rear Window, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. So it makes sense that it belongs in this nanogenre. But my highest rated nanogenre is Chuckles, Voices, and Adventure. It has a 5. Actually, everything under nanogenres that I'm looking at has an average of 5. But we're just gonna look at the top one. It's only because I rated 2 out of the 5 movies listed here. That's Shrek 2 and Monty Python. But the other 2 movies that they are including are a Minecraft movie and the Johnny English sequel, or maybe that's the third one. I don't remember, but I wasn't crazy about that Johnny English movie. I am just curious. There's one called Witty, Silly, Sexual. I'm just gonna click on that and just see what I watched. Oh, okay. The Graduate, Superbad, and The Watermelon Woman. All of that makes sense. All right, so time to break these movies down a little bit more. So in 2025, out of all the movies I saw, I only saw 85 that came out this year. That's like less than a quarter of what I saw this year. But for watches, a lot of the things that I watched for the first time this year was about 76%, and I reviewed more than half of everything that I watched. Now, my 2025 ratings, I have 26 films that I gave 4.5 stars, not including the 2025 movies. Some of them were I Saw the TV Glow, Sing Sing, Ice Merchants, Moonlight, Inside Llewyn Davis, Rear Window, Inherent Vice. I don't recommend that movie to everybody, but Inherent Vice rules. Looks like I gave 2 films 2.5 stars last year. Oh, it was Twilight and Life. Twilight, I gave it a little bit more of an acceptance on the quality of that movie because I saw it in theaters. It was like a cult screening. It's at least what it felt like. The crowd was having a very good time. I was having a bit of a better time. Just a weird movie though. I don't want to get into it. And then Life, it's like a B-rated movie with higher budgeted stars, and it's just an Alien remake, and there's nothing really super crazy about it. So yeah, 2.5 stars. All right, so my watch list, it gets bigger and bigger every year, and I thought I was doing better, but apparently not, because the number is still huge and it will forever be huge. But I told myself, I was like, this year I'm gonna finally knock 100 films off of my watch list. This is for anybody, just do what I do and literally just sort your watch list from shortest to longest. A lot of these films that I knocked off my watch list were shorts, and I would just look to see where they are. Every Saturday morning, I would just wake up, I would just go into the living room, get onto the YouTube app, and just search for these shorts. Some of the feature-length films that I finally knocked off of my watch list were Creature from the Black Lagoon, Kung Fu Hustle, In the Mood for Love, We Need to Talk About Kevin, The Sound of Music, High and Low. I watched all the Home Alone movies. I watched all 6. I watched them in reverse. So I started with the newest one and then I went backwards so they would technically get better. The first one is great. I can't believe it took me so long to finally watch it. I said this in my Letterboxd review. I felt like Frank at the end of that It's Always Sunny episode where he's like, I get it. Another one that I was just like super impressed by was High and Low. Like, it's one of the best films of all time. I totally get it. A lot of these I didn't really hate though. There wasn't really anything that was like super disappointing. I'd probably have to say my least favorite from these would be Creature from the Black Lagoon. It is now time to talk about actors, actresses, directors. Who did I watch the most? Who got the highest ratings? Let's go ahead and just start with the actors. Now, these are my top 10. Let's just go ahead and do the top 4. We're going to start with David Bradley. I watched 4 movies. 3 of them are Harry Potter, though. This year, I watched the first 3 Harry Potter movies, and I also watched Frankenstein. Now, my favorite out of these is Prisoner of Azkaban. That's a great movie. However, David Bradley does not have a really significant role in there. If you want to watch a great David Bradley performance, I would recommend Frankenstein. He's a very important character. Guillermo del Toro just knows how to work with David Bradley very well. My next one is Josh Brolin. I watched 4 Josh Brolin movies: Weapons, Inherent Vice, Running Man, and Wake Up Dead Man. My favorite out of these, probably Inherent Vice. Definitely the funniest in my opinion. Just a very comedic Josh Brolin performance. He's funny in Wake Up Dead Man. I'm just more impressed with what he's going for in Inherent Vice. My least favorite though is The Running Man. The script just isn't giving him enough. He doesn't really have his like big moment that I feel like the movie was trying to give him. Next is Josh Hamilton. The 4 films that I watched were Kicking and Screaming, Frances Ha, The Long Walk, and Jay Kelly. If you want to watch a good Josh Hamilton performance, I would recommend Kicking and Screaming. He plays the lead. The one that you could probably skip out on is The Long Walk. I don't even remember him in that movie. I'm gonna assume he just plays a dad and he's in a flashback scene. And finally, the actor I saw the most in 2025 is Kim Roy-ha, and he is a Korean actor. Everything that I saw him in were Bong Joon-ho films. So he was in White Man, he was in Barking Dogs Never Bite, Memories of Murder, The Host, and Incoherence. Out of all of these movies, he is a supporting character in Memories of Murder. Like, he is an important character in that story. I would highly recommend Memories of Murder. That's just a masterpiece in my opinion. All of these are good though. Now, for my highest rated actors, pretty much everyone that is in my top 4 except for number 1 is somebody that worked with Bong Joon-ho. So we'll start with Choi Woo-shik, who was in Okja and in Parasite. If you are wanting to look for a like predominant Choi Woo-shik performance, I'd probably recommend more so Parasite. He is one of the main characters in that film. In Okja, he has a far smaller role where he's just like a driver. Next is Song Kang-ho, who is constantly collaborating with Bong Joon-ho. So the films that I have him rated for are for Snowpiercer, Parasite, and Memories of Murder. I would recommend all of those. I can't really give any complaints about his performance in any of these. Next is Lee Dong-young, who was also in Parasite, Memories of Murder. And finally, my number 1, my highest rated actor was John Cleese, and that's Shrek 2, and that's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So congratulations, John Cleese. You get a... Now next, we're going to talk about my most watched directors. We're going to start with number 4, Chris Columbus. I watched 4 of his movies. He directed the first 2 Harry Potter films, and he directed Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. Home Alone is my favorite out of these. The next director is a Russian animator named Yuri Norstein. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This was somebody I came across when I was just going through my watch list. I watched 5 of his animated shorts: Hedgehog in the Fog, The Heron and the Crane, Train, The Battle of Kurzhenetz, The Fox and the Hare, and Tale of Tales. All of these are very, very good. My favorite I would probably recommend would be Hedgehog and the Fog. That one is a big inspiration for a lot of Hayao Miyazaki's work. So if you want to see what inspired him, I would highly recommend this. I would watch all 5 of these. You can find them on YouTube. And then next is Bong Joon-ho. I watched all of his movies, all 12 of them. That's including his shorts he's made. My favorite out of all of these, Memories of Murder. At first I was like, yes, this is an amazing movie because I've seen it before. And then as I just kept rewatching, going through the Criterion collection, I was just like, yeah, this is a masterpiece. This is a 5 out of 5. My least favorite of these, as far as like featured films, I'd probably have to go with Mickey 17, which I think a lot of people would feel that way. But I would recommend go through Bong Joon-ho's films. Even in his first short, White Man, you can see literally like how like he is using stairs as like layers and talking about class that way. And then I told myself I'm going to finish going through all of Alfred Hitchcock's movies. I said I was going to watch everything else that I have not watched. So I watched 29 Alfred Hitchcock movies, and I'm not going to name every single one. Pretty much everything minus Rear Window and Psycho were a first time watch for me. Some of my favorite ones were Rope, Strangers on a Train was really fun, Lifeboat I really enjoyed as well, Vertigo's great as well. There are some that I was like, this is fine, like Under Capricorn I thought was fine, The Paradigm Case. Some just didn't work for me, and I think that's okay. It went in waves until I got to that golden era where I was like, yeah, these are all good. Happy to say I've seen at least majority of Alfred Hitchcock's works, so I'm just glad to get through all of that. I've been meaning to do that for years now. Hello there. I forgot to talk about my highest rated directors. Now, majority of my highest rated directors have a 5 out of 5. I'm still only going to talk about the top 4 though, and these 3, Conrad Vernon, Andrew Adamson, and Kelly Asbury, all directors of Shrek 2. My number 1 highest rated director is Michel Gondry, who directed one of my all-time favorite movies, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So thank you, congratulations, Michel Gondry. You get a clap. Now, I'm not gonna go through the crew and studio, but here is a snapshot of my most watched crew and studio people, whether that's a producer, a composer, set designer, and here are my highest rated people under crew and studio. Last year, I think my most liked review was like 6 likes or 9 likes. This year, I went big, in my eyes at least. I got 40 likes, and it is on the movie called The Last Rodeo. And in this review, I wrote, the only way you can make me watch this movie is if you have got a theater to promote a secret movie screening and have me think it's going to be a movie like Karate Kid and willingly buy a ticket. Guess how I saw this movie? Not my kind of movie. This is a spoiler for Sinners if you have not seen it, because I accidentally somehow spoiled this for one of my friends. My most liked list is called Brothers Who End Up Fighting Vampires in a Nightclub, and one of the brothers has a kinky scene with a female actress, and it contained 2 films, From Dusk Till Dawn and Sinners. So spoiler alert for Sinners and From Dusk Till Dawn. Next are highs and lows. So the highest average film that I saw in 2025 was high and low. The lowest average I saw was War of the Worlds, the Ice Cube one. Yes, it's bad. I don't even really recommend it. You can just watch that one clip where they ordered the Amazon drone. That's really all you need to see just to get a good understanding of how that film is. The most popular film I watched last year was Parasite. My most obscure one was a short called Chris and Holly. The newest movie I saw was Avatar, Fire and Ash. And then the oldest movie I watched was called Suspense. The longest movie I watched was The Brutalist. It was 215 minutes long. It certainly felt 215 minutes long. Good movie. I just would not recommend it to everybody. And the shortest one I watched is called Annie Curry 15, A Gathering of Cats. It's 1 minute long. I watched it on YouTube. There's not really a whole lot that I could say to it. There's like not much of a plot. And that is pretty much a rundown of everything that I saw last year in 2025. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. If you made it this far, who was your most watched actor, highest rated director, most watched director. Let me know all of that. I just want to know. Go ahead and follow me on Letterboxd. I'll put the link down below. I'll follow you back as well. I am still working on my favorite films of 2025, so just bear with me and maybe a little bit before that comes out, and then I'll start reviewing other stuff. Thank you so much for watching anything I made in 2025. Here's a 2026. Make sure you exercise every day, drink your milk, and have a great day.